So today we're going to talk about something a little different on Pizza Slice Pop Culture. This week's episode of Game of Thrones was the Siege of King's Landing, and we're going to be talking spoilers from here on out, so if you haven't seen that episode, save this video and come back and watch it later. So we've seen this season has been building toward Dany's crazy moment, the instant where she completely loses it and does something she can't take back, which turns her into the bad guy, the crazy Targaryen that Jon has to defeat. But here's the problem. The change wasn't warranted. In the episode, we see the Lannister soldiers put down their arms and the city is lost and Dany has won. But for some reason, some inexplicable motive, she decides to burn them all anyway. In a way, paralleling her father, the Mad King Aerys. Burn them all! The show decides to have Dany snap because, I don't know, she wanted to win with fire and blood or something. We're told she's supposed to be grieving after Missandei's murder in the previous episode. But there are a lot of people who saw friends and family die, and they don't go on massive killing sprees. Here's the problem. To create this moment of crazy, we lose the sympathy for Dany, because she has already won the battle. Her snap doesn't feel genuine. Instead, it feels like the writers need it to happen, so it does. So today I'm going to take a page from one of my favorite YouTube channels, Nando V Movies, and do some rewriting on Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 5. Fans have been disappointed with the last few seasons of the show, especially with the 2-year hiatus they took between seasons 7 and 8. But here's one change I think that would make a big difference in this episode and the season as a whole. Viserion shouldn't die in Blackwater Bay. First off, this change would fix one big complaint about the show, that Dany has no idea what to do when it comes to military tactics. After the Battle of Winterfell, we've been wary of the lack of military strategy within Dany's army, and the writer's excuse was Dany forgot about the Greyjoy fleet, which is honestly absurd for the amount of damage they've done to her army on multiple occasions. She even references them earlier in that same episode. It's important that Missandei still end up a prisoner of Cersei, so we'll keep that. But instead of having Dany's entire army head to Dragonstone completely unprepared for an attack, send a scouting battalion with the Unsullied. Have Grey Worm take charge, since he's the army's primary general, and have Missandei go along with him, saying something like, "Since we survived the Battle of Winterfell, I don't want to be apart from you. I'd rather die by your side." Which might even be worse for Grey Worm, knowing he survived the attack and she didn't. Have the battle proceed mostly the same, except now, Dany isn't flying around waiting to be ambushed. In the air. Have the rest of the episode turn out the same, and end with Missandei's execution. But now, we have 2 dragons here instead of 1. The Siege of King's Landing proceeds nearly the same, except for one point. This guy. He needs to live, mainly because he hasn't gotten to do anything this season, and we recognize his face. It doesn't have to be him, but it makes the most sense here. His name is Harry Strickland, I had to look it up. Remember this guy for now. The army attacks, and you've got 2 dragons now who might actually be able to do enough damage to the Greyjoy fleet to destroy it. The Greyjoys are distracted now. As soon as they get a shot on Drogon, Viserion swoops in and destroys the ship. It's chaos. Then the 2 fly into the city, crossing their flames and crashing through the gate. When the army takes the city, we get the standoff in the square. The Lannisters lay down their weapons, and both dragons have landed. The battle is over, and the bell starts ringing. Then, out of seemingly nowhere, a scorpion bolt flies through the air and stabs Viserion right through the throat, or the head or something. The dragon falls down, tearing at the stone walls, crashing to the ground, stones falling and crushing him. Now Dany sees red. And there, the last working scorpion is hidden in some castle hideout, and Harry Strickland is the one manning it, trying to make a name for himself as the man who killed a dragon. Now we have a character we better understand, giving Daenerys' motivation for her madness, a trigger that can provoke the moment of her insanity. We need to give her a better motivation and make her a more sympathetic villain. She still kills thousands of innocents, but in her mind she can feel justified because her dragon died in the city she was just trying to save. This gives the audience so much more sympathy for the character, whether or not we agree with her. Making her decision to murder thousands of people based on, well, she's so crazy she could do anything, is just lazy writing. In this version, the straw that breaks the camel's back is the one we can really see the impact of. If the moment was supposed to be Missandei's execution, Daenerys should have attacked the city right then and there. Instead, she approaches the siege with a relatively intelligent plan. She's tactical. It's hard to say that the same person who put this army together, put them on the battlefield, with the opportunity to win the whole thing, is just going to decide that winning isn't good enough. She could still be the evil character we've been building on, but now we can really understand her motivation, even though we might not agree with it. It may keep her a favorite in a lot of people's minds, but right now I don't feel like that's happening. Anyone who still likes Daenerys basically has to overlook this crazy moment. Even George R.R. Martin has stated he's disappointed in where the show has been going, and I think that says a lot. I have some other problems with these episodes, especially when it comes to setups and payoffs, but if you want to see me do an episode on prophecies in Game of Thrones, let me know in the comments. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. It means a lot to me. And subscribe if you want to see more stuff on Pizza Slice Pop Culture.